Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into Lesson 5 of the classic text 504 Absolutely Essential Words. Let's be honest for a second. If you've ever felt like you're just cramming vocabulary into your head at 2 in the morning, only to completely forget it by Tuesday, well, you are in the exact right place. Rote memorization is exhausting, and quite frankly, it just doesn't work for long-term retention. So today, we're going to transform that frustrating process into real-world vocabulary mastery. We're looking closely at how this brilliant resource structures learning so that these exact words stop being flashcards and instead become a permanent, natural part of your active vocabulary. Okay, let's jump right in.
Before we tackle the new vocabulary itself, we need to look at the sourcebook's proven three-step method for learning. This is literally the foundation of why this system works so incredibly well, especially for adult learners. It moves you from raw, academic definitions to genuine practical understanding. First up, you read the exact definition. Second, and this is where the magic really happens, you study the word in 3 highly distinct sample sentences. This builds context, which is exactly how our brains naturally map language out in the real world. You don't just learn what a word means, you learn how it behaves. And finally, you see it applied in a short, cohesive article. It's a careful progression that makes absolutely sure the word takes deep root in your mind.
To make these words truly stick today, we're going to group Lesson 5 into distinct thematic buckets. We'll quickly cover the essential dozen, concepts of society, settings and majorities, actions and arguments, and finally, we'll wrap up by testing your mastery.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the Essential Dozen, which is essentially Lesson 5's vocabulary toolkit. What's really interesting here is the original formatting from the source text itself. The exact list ranges from tradition right down to reform. But what you'll probably notice immediately is that the book provides precise phonetic pronunciations right next to every single word. Why does that matter? Because to truly master vocabulary, you have to make sure you aren't just reading the words silently in your head, but actually preparing to speak them confidently out loud in conversation. It's a totally comprehensive approach right from the very first glance.
Now, while the book gives these to us in a standard vertical list, we are going to optimize our learning today by chunking these 12 words into themes of society, settings, and actions. Your brain can build a cohesive narrative to easily map and retain the concepts. Think about it for a second. It is so much easier to remember a specific setting where a specific action takes place than trying to memorize a totally random string of dictionary entries, right? This narrative approach is exactly how you master Lesson 5, rather than just surviving it.
Moving right along to Section 2, Concepts of Society. This is where we'll look at tradition, burden, and reform.
Our first highlighted word is tradition. Listen closely to the phonetic breakdown here. Tra-dish-en. The text explicitly defines it as the beliefs, opinions, and customs handed down from one generation to another. So it's not just some old habit, it is a vital, intentional passing down of culture. That could be a special holiday meal shared with family or a centuries-old law that governs an entire nation.
Using that rule of 3 context method from the book, notice how tradition is framed here. It's shown both as a deeply valued institution and as something we might actually eventually outgrow. This brilliantly illustrates how the source text teaches nuance. In one sentence, a father is persuading his son of the importance of the tradition of marriage. Yet, in another sentence provided by the text, it says, as time goes on, we will eliminate traditions which are meaningless. This shows you the full spectrum of how the word operates in modern conversation. It's something to protect, sure, but also something to question.
Up next is Section 3, Settings and Majorities. Let's look at where these concepts happen, covering the words rural, campus, and majority.
Here we have rural. Notice the careful, deliberate instruction on the pronunciation, rural. The definition is incredibly concise. Simply, in the country. But, a short definition leaves a lot to the imagination, doesn't it? Which is exactly why we need the context of the sample sentences to truly grasp the feeling of the word.
These 3 sample sentences brilliantly illustrate the word by contrasting its peace, its cost, and its population directly against the hustle and bustle of city life. We learn that tomatoes cost less at a rural farm stand, that these areas aren't densely populated, and that rural life is far more peaceful than city life. Through these specific grounding examples, the word rural instantly evokes a vivid, quiet, and spacious landscape right in your mind. You aren't just memorizing letters anymore, you are visualizing a real place.
Completely contrasting that open, sprawling rural setting, we have the campus. The text defines this as the grounds of a college, university, or school. It represents a highly specific, structured, and intentional educational space. The source actually provides a great sentence about a student deciding to move off campus to save money. This perfectly highlights the campus as a specific, defined physical boundary that you can either be on or off, which, let's be real, usually depends on how close you want to be to your 8 a.m. classes.
Moving into Section 4, Actions and Arguments. This is our largest thematic bucket, covering assemble, explore, topic, debate, evade, and probe.
Let's look at probe, which is an essential action word meaning to deeply search into, examine thoroughly, or investigate. The crucial point here is that this isn't just a casual glance or a quick web search. The source text gives us a compelling, high-stakes visual for this, a lawyer who probed the man's mind to see if he was innocent. It implies a deep, penetrating, and frankly almost uncomfortable search for the absolute truth.
It is absolutely fascinating to contrast these next two actions directly against each other. Look at how the text defines them. A debate is a discussion where reasons for and against something are brought out into the light. You face the opposing reasons head-on. On the flip side, to evade means to get away from something by trickery or cleverness. Think about that dynamic for a second. One action courageously confronts the issue, while the other completely escapes the subject using pure deception.
This specific sample sentence from the source perfectly captures the constructive nature of a debate, as opposed to just a mere emotional argument. It reads, instead of shrieking at each other, the students decided to have a debate on the topic. Which, let's be honest, is exactly how most arguments usually start. But it clearly positions debate as an organized, civilized alternative to pure chaos. It's an incredibly memorable way to cement the word's proper, formal usage.
Finally, we've reached Section 5, Test Your Mastery. It's time to put all this active recall to the test. Let's see how well you absorb the context we discussed earlier. I want you to think back to our settings and majorities bucket. Which word from Lesson 5 accurately fits this high-stakes political context? A blank of votes was needed for the bill to pass. Take a second to mentally fill in that blank. Got it?
If you guessed majority, you're absolutely right. The text defines majority as the larger number, the greater part, or more than half. This perfectly demonstrates exactly how context clues, like voting and bills passing in a legislative setting, lock in these definitions way better than just staring at a dictionary page ever could. You knew the answer because you understood the environment the word belongs in. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Having a toolkit of 12 essential vocabulary words is fantastic. But as this explainer has shown, words only truly live when they are spoken. Are you going to passively accept tradition today? Or are you going to probe a difficult topic and invite a healthy debate? Take Lesson 5 off the screen and bring it into your world. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep on learning.